And until those memories change, the past will remain a major obstacle to further peace there, a major load weighing down that whole society. Westmont students I took there in 1999 and 2007 certainly sense that. Likewise, visits to Bosnia with students in 2004 and 2007 revealed similar truths about how the pain of the past remains very much alive in competing memories that perpetuate deep divides among its peoples. Sometimes the weight of the past is so great that it threatens to do nothing less than crush us. One of this year's Best Picture nominees, The Reader, based on Bernhard Schlink's novel, captures a bit of what that can look like. Its story of post-war Germany trying to come to fuller terms in the 1960s and beyond with its individual and national sins of the 1940s points up the toll the past can take. Guilt, shame, reprisal, lack of forgiveness, generational conflict, loneliness, hopelessness. Those are just some of what this book and film show the past capable of inflicting, both upon those who experienced it in the first place and those who follow. This novel also shows that sometimes the dead can hold us accountable when nothing else or no one else can. More powerful yet are the haunting lines and images of William Styron's Sophie's Choice and Toni Morrison's Beloved. Styron's heroine is a young Polish woman, an Auschwitz survivor, whose post-war life becomes an effort to beat back the grief and guilt thrust forever upon her by the utter evil of the camp. In the end, the overwhelming weight of her memory drives her to death. Morrison's heroine, Sethi, is a young African-American woman, a slavery survivor, whose post-Civil War life is similarly an effort to beat back the phantasms of memory, the horrors of life for the slaves at the perversely named Sweet Home Plantation, and the desperate and hideous choice forced upon Sethi in the midst of her family's escape from slavery make for a past that seems too much to bear for her or for any of us. But in this case, Sethi does survive. She survives both slavery and its memory, not by running away from it, but by facing it and overcoming it in the company and strength of her African-American community. And in that way, she is finally able to agree with the words of her friend and lover, Paul D., when he says, "Sethi, me and you got more yesterday than anybody." We need some kind of a tomorrow. Sorry. That line always gets me, and it got me today. Exploring the depths of human sinfulness is surely not the only thing we students of history do, but it certainly needs to be one of them, if we're going to take full account of the past. And there we find that the sins of the fathers and the mothers do indeed get visited upon the third and fourth generations. Evil usually does leave a long trail, and in its wake we historians find the stuff of human tragedy. That weighs heavy on us, or at least I think it should. Thankfully, that is not all there is to the human past. There are also what writer Thomas Cahill has called narratives of grace, running throughout history as well. Moments when some truth was discovered, some good was done, some evil was overcome, some beauty was created, preserved, or enjoyed, some care was extended, some wrong was righted, some trespass was forgiven, some sin was atoned. But has also chosen to incarnate grace in the person of Jesus of Nazareth. In so entering history himself, God imparted to history a significance, a weightiness, and a weight it would not otherwise have. That gives Christians as good a reason as anyone to take history seriously and to believe that it does matter, that it is good for something, as the four panelists earlier this afternoon claimed. and it makes a life dedicated to the study of history a calling worth pursuing, even in a fast-changing, fast-paced culture that doesn't give much weight to history or historians. Perhaps that's all the more reason to be an historian in the 21st century. We're needed more than ever to be a kind of countercultural tug, or maybe an anchor, trying to keep things weighed down for just a little while so as to catch our collective breath. But that's tough to do when the current of time seems to be rushing swifter and swifter forward, leaving our ability to look backwards more and more impaired. Under those conditions, it's easy to conclude that a life spent in the past and the past itself are best washed away, swept out to sea, or simply down the drain. After all, how can what happened in the 18th century, or any century, really matter in the face of what we face right now or in the future? You might imagine that I pose that question merely rhetorically today, but let me assure you that that has been a real question for me for decades, and never more so than in the days since November 13th. As I faced that question over the years, the only way in the end through that question for me has been and continues to be an act of faith. Faith that Christ's birth, life, death, and resurrection did indeed all take place within the framework of human time, and because they did, history matters. Together they are, I believe, God's grand affirmation that this stretch between eternity past and eternity future that we humans call history really does count for something. In fact, they tell us that everything depends on what actually happened in Palestine in the first century. Those events were not the end of the story, but they have made all the difference for where the story is going. Here then is the weight of history. On the one side, its heaviness as it lays upon us the pain of the past, and on the other side, its weightiness as it lays open for us the very purposes of our being and of all creation. In the end, we Christians see this heaviness and this weightiness as intimately linked, for it was that very pain and brokenness which prompted God to break into history in a whole new way and make possible the work of redemption. When that work is finally complete, then history's work will be complete. History itself will be able to lay down its burden and take a permanent rest. But until that day, and for that day, we wait. Here is again is that big wait of which I spoke earlier. We wait upon the Lord. I wait upon the Lord. And if I've been a good pupil of what history has tried to teach me or do to me over these last 35 years, I wait with patience. I wait by doing justice. I wait with a deep sense of the world's pain. I wait with eyes and ears open for grace. And I wait with utter hope and confidence that he who has begun a good work in this world will bring it to completion in the day of Christ Jesus. May God grant me the grace to be that kind of waiter for my sake and for the sake of his kingdom. Thank you.